key thing, Ben, is that the federal government doesn't work. And there's no longer any way of disguising this. What happened in 2020 was the left sought to blame the pandemic on Trump. Remember, that was Jim Fallows' argument in The Atlantic. The whole thing was just pilot error. It was all Trump's fault. The excess mortality in the US was entirely due to the fact that we'd elected an incompetent. And here we are, it's early 2022, and more people died on Biden's watch than on Trump's, and vaccines were available for a substantial part of the Biden presidency. So we can't any longer pretend that COVID killed a lot of Americans because Trump. In truth, we now begin to see the entire public health bureaucracy failed cataclysmically, and failed because it had become politically corrupt, to the point that they would even falsify and deny the compelling evidence about the origins of the virus in a laboratory in Wuhan. I mean, that is so shocking that it ought to be on the front page of the newspaper. It is a huge scandal. So the public health bureaucracy is typical of the federal government's pathologies. What Krista Muth called the administrative state so many years ago now is dysfunctional in every domain. Dysfunctional when it came to financial regulation. We're about to see that again as they attempt to regulate cryptocurrency out of existence. Dysfunctional when it comes to national security, because after all, losing a war to the Taliban over 20 years doesn't look like a great success story. You name it, it doesn't work. Now, what is going to make Americans realize that the system is desperately in need of reform? Probably some humiliating defeat is the answer. Or if not defeat, then at least a shock comparable in its magnitude to 9/11. And I think it's coming. I think it's coming.
Yeah, and it may be that we need next. I mean, the countries you talked about that are sort of successful models of risk assessment are ones that are under constant threat. The United States has not been under existential threat since the end of the Cold War, and that does have some pretty significant costs. When you're the unchallenged global dominant superpower, you tend to get fat and lazy, right? Jeshurun gets fat and it kicks.
But isolationism, in the sense, broadly speaking, I mean, think of the way Americans thought about their situation in the 1920s and 1930s. That is also quite a feature. I mean, the default setting is, there's a big country. The default setting is, who really cares about a place I can't find on the map?
But that's what I'm worried about. You know, for example, there was this vax mandate case, and our company was the first company to challenge it, and thank God the Supreme Court rules the right way. But basically, we were one presidency away from the Supreme Court ruling that that OSHA, of all four-letter agencies, can dictate to 85 million Americans that they must get vaxxed or fired. And so, and it wouldn't have mattered if it was OSHA or whether it was the CDC declaring eviction moratoria, right? I mean, there were 3 votes in favor of eviction moratoria on the basis of emergency rule. And it frightens me when I look at Canada, when I look at Australia, when I look at the tyrannical mandates that have been pressed down from the top levels of these governments, that the United States really is pretty close to that. And my hope is that people awaken to the fact that the federal government is as bad at these things as you say. This is why what I've said is my optimism lies in the states, right? This is why I didn't like it in California, I moved to Florida, and now my life is much better because I live in Florida, I pay lower taxes, I've got...
Stop reminding me.
But my great worry is that as the country, I don't care about polarization per se. You know, my friend Dennis Prager likes to say clarity above agreement, and I like that. I mean, clarity above agreement is fine, so long as I don't have to deal with the person who disagrees with me running the federal government. So I've been working on this sort of political theory about legitimacy of government, and it seems to me that the reason for localism is, I came up with this basic equation that I've been working on, political equations being nonsense anyway.
I was going to say, whoa,
yeah,
I don't
exactly.
like those.
Yeah, exactly. But
I'll stop right there. You lost me at equation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Bro, there should be a rule, Chad. You can't give your fucking retarded warhawk opinions if you sound like a little bitch. If you sound like this, you don't really get to talk about war, bro. I have an opinion. Take it to a fucking college, okay? You fit in with those cringe fucking broke leftists in debt, loser ass fucking weirdos.
The basic idea is essentially control over consent. That's the ratio. And that if you have a high level of consent, you can exhibit a great deal of control over people. And if you have a low level of consent and high levels of control, then the government tends to lose legitimacy. Well, this speaks pretty easily on behalf of localism, because
this is top fields.
Yeah, exactly.
Way of thinking about it.
Right. But it seems that what's happening is because we flattened out because of the internet and because
Bro, Ben, you suck at your own job. Your parents are Hollywood stars. They put you in you knew Larry King when you were 5 years old. And you still let Jordan Peterson beat you, and he's a fucking hillbilly from Canada with no one helping him? Like, bro, you suck, bro. Like, you suck. You suck, bro, Mr. Never Trumper. I'm a never Trumper, actually. It's like, I didn't forget.
issue is now nationalized. We flattened.
His sister's in chat. I fucking love Ben, dude. I love Ben. Fuck Ben. Fuck his sister. And free Palestine. Okay, guys, we're done. We're done. We're done. For one prime, we'll continue the stream 2 more hours.
Local into federal. And so the idea is the federal government is supposed to govern every area of our lives. I'm fine if the federal government wants to do what it wants. I'm fine with California being California. I'm just not fine if they decide to make Florida into California. I ran away from California to escape California.
You fit in California. Weren't you like, you and Peterson are assigned to CAA, liberal media. Fucking get the fuck out of here, bro.